Hi, Elizabeth. This is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com. I'm listening to a speaking practice test that you sent me a couple of days ago. And let's take a look at the topic here. So, in your email, you say the question is, would you prefer a job that pays well but involves long hours or a job with regular hours but less pay? So, high paying with a lot of hours or fewer hours with less pay. I have the independent speaking rubrics from the Educational Testing Service so I can accurately score your practice test, and I have your recording on my desktop computer right now. And I'm going to focus just like the TOEFL. So we have delivery, we have language use, and we have topic development, right? So let's see how you're doing in those areas. Okay, so I'm going to I'm assuming right now you're in the 3 area. That's how I like to score these. So as I listen to it, do I want to go higher than 4? Do I want to go lower than 4? Or I mean, higher than 3 or lower than 3? Or am I going to keep it right in this area? So a lot of students who take the TOEFL exam, this is where they score right here. It is a whole nother ball game to get into the 4 category, to get closer to 30 points out of 30. That's why so many students are right around 22 to 23. When you look at the actual uh, speaking descriptors, it isn't that difficult to reach this standard, but it's very difficult to reach the other standard. Okay, here we go. So you want a high paying job with more hours or a lower paying job with fewer hours?
Personally, I prefer a job that pays well even if I have to work for long hours because I have a long-term project which is building a very big mansion. This has always been our family dream. In order to achieve this dream, I really have to work very hard. I know that this will require family sacrifices such as spending less time with the kids, but I don't really bother about that because my husband is at home with the kids. He will take care of them, he will monitor them, and they will understand. As long as I work in order to achieve a family goal, that's okay for me. So working for a job that will give me regular hours and a less pay won't really help me.
It won't help you to achieve that goal, right? That you've set. You might want to tie it back. So I think you're making some improvements in the delivery. I think you're focusing a lot on your linking. You're trying to vary your tone more. I want to commend you on that. I do see you're doing better, much better with the overall fluidity. I think what's called fluid expression. I think that you've made a lot of gains over the last few weeks in that area. So I think that's good. With some fluidity, I'm going to say you're probably around 3.5, maybe, in this area when it comes to delivery. I think that your tone is still sometimes a little off. So I think you still need to work on that tone. Remember that every time you pause, you create what's called a thought group. And in those non final thought groups, you want your tone to be slightly inflected. When you get to the end of the sentence, your tone falls, you have a slight pause, then you go to the next sentence, to the next idea. So I think you can still work a little bit more on the tone. But let's listen to it one more time. Let me see.
Personally, I prefer a job that pays well even if I have to work for long hours because
Even if I have to work for long
I
hours,
have a long-term project which is
that was a little awkward. I have a long-term project there. I have a long-term project. So I think that your sentence rhythm was a little bit off with that.
building a very big mansion. This has always been our family dream. In order
It has always been, how about which has always been a family dream? Maybe use the word which, and then you can connect that sentence to the previous sentence to show a little bit more advanced structure.
This has always been our family dream. In order to achieve this dream, I really have to work very hard. I know that this will require family sacrifices such as spending less time with the kids, but I don't really bother about that because my husband is at home with the kids. He will take care of them. He will
Let me go back to the language use here. Give me a
which is
second.
building a very big mansion. This has always been our family dream. In order to achieve this dream, I really have to work very hard. I know that this will require family sacrifices,
So this will require family sacrifices,
such as spending less time with the kids, but I don't really bother about that because my
but I don't really bother about that. I think usually we'll say, I am not really bothered about that, or this does not bother me. Something like that. I would say, I am not bothered about that. I think that might be the better way to say
husband is
that.
at home with the kids. He will take care of them, he will monitor them, and they will understand. As long as I work in order to achieve a family goal, that's okay for me.
As long as I work to achieve a family goal, I would probably say there, which is fine by me, instead of that is okay with me. That was a little bit awkward how you put that in there. And the rhythm and the tone was a little bit off there. But I like how you're trying to show emotion in that part of your response. I think that's a good strategy.
So, working for a job that we
Instead of saying so, putting so in the beginning of the sentence, I would probably be a little more formal. Use a transition word, maybe consequently, therefore, as result, hence, or thus. So use a more formal transition word in that part of your response to show that cause effect
give me
relationship.
regular hours and a less pay won't really help me. Personally, I prefer a job that pays.
So the last part was a little bit awkward there.
Working for a job that will give me regular hours,
So almost like you're working, you kind of had a pause in there. That was a little bit awkward.
that's okay for me. So, working for a job that will give me regular hours and a less pay won't really help me.
Will not really help me. I would say I don't think you'll be deducted for this, but for TOEFL speaking, I would use more. Don't use contractions as much. Instead of won't, will not, can't, cannot, isn't, is not. It creates a bit of a more formal tone in there. That's probably a better strategy. And sometimes when you're using contractions, especially because English isn't your first language, it's easy to be misunderstood. I can go, I can't go to the store. Are you going to go or not? Is it positive or negative? That can be a little bit tricky when you're not a native speaker and you're trying to speak naturally using contractions. So that's an unnecessary risk, I think, that you want to take. Okay, well, what do we have here? How do I want to score it here? This is a tough one. It says under the three, speech is generally clear with some fluidity of expression, though minor difficulties with pronunciation, intonation, or pacing are noticeable and may require listener effort. So I think you're still having some of those things in there. So I think the three more than the four describes your delivery. Language use, let's see, may exhibit some imprecise or inaccurate use of vocabulary or grammar structures. You said, I do not bother about that. I changed it to say, I am not bothered about that. I think will probably be better. Um, Overall, what you're doing is pretty good, though, with the language use. I didn't notice really any systematic errors. I think you have pretty good control of your language use for the most part. You're probably, maybe with delivery, you're 3.0 to 3.5, right, on the delivery. Language use, you're probably around maybe 3.5 to 4.0, I think, with that one. And then topic development, let's say overall development is limited, usually lacks elaboration or specificity. You did elaborate. You said that you want to buy a mansion. You weren't specific as to what you wanted with the mansion. Do you want a large backyard with a pool? Do you want grass in the front yard? You didn't elaborate very much on what you wanted it to look like. So I think maybe the specificity of it maybe is a little bit lower than the four. The four says well developed and coherent. So maybe you're between 3.0 and 3.5 on topic development, 3.0 to 3.5 on delivery, 3.5 to 4 on the language use. And anybody at YouTube, if you're watching the video here, what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree with my assessment? It's tricky. Assessing speaking proficiency is an art. It's an art and a science at the same time. But Elizabeth, so if I gave you some strategies here, let me give you a score before I forget. So I'm going to put you. I'm going to say maybe 23 to 25 points out of 30 on this one. I think you might not get the magic number of 26 because of some minor delivery and topic development issues. That would be my assessment right now. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for completing the practice test. I look forward to listening to your next practice test soon, or maybe you choose to send me a writing practice test. So as part of my my speaking and writing service here at Better TOEFL Scores, you can send me either one speaking practice test each day, or you can send a writing practice test each day, and I will give you feedback like I did today so you can continue to monitor your progress.